welcome to your most credible source, NBC 217. I'm Brenda Bummer.
And I'm Deborah Delight. Welcome to our news broadcast.
I already covered that, Dan. Anyway, today we'll be informing you about the Cold War. The Cold War was an important time in history when...
Wasn't that like 50 years ago? Boring.
Deborah, I'm begging you, let me speak. The Cold War was a rivalry between the Soviet Union and the United States that lasted 45 years.
Beginning in 1947, things between the United States and the Soviet Union got to be a little intense after World War I. The United States wasn't very happy with the Soviet Union's choice of government, which was communism.
Well, the Soviet Union didn't like the Americans' refusal to treat them like they were part of the Grand Alliance. Both superpower countries were suspicious of one another.
To begin with, our first story is about outer space and the race to get there. Let's zoom on over to our all-star broadcaster, Mindy Marshmallow.
Hello, NBC. Mindy Marshmallow here, live at the moon with Neil Armstrong to discuss his emotions on the space race. Sir, tell us everything.
Well, to begin with, we, the United States, had our eyes on the new frontier, space, for a very long time. The Soviet Union first threatened us by sending the first satellite to space, Sputnik 1, in 1957. The U.S. first countered by sending their first satellite to space, Explorer 1, in 1958.
Wait, but I don't get it. Did the Soviet Union, beat you or something?
Not really. The whole point of the whole thing was to put a man on the moon first. Throughout the 1960s, the U.S. focused on their Apollo missions. It took about a decade when the Apollo 11 finally landed a man on the moon. Big difference. Our mission didn't fail. The Soviet Union's did.
Did you wish on any comets throughout the trip? That's the first thing I would have done.
Well, there had to be some wishes involved due to past complications for our mission to succeed. On a previous Apollo mission in 1967, 3 astronauts were killed in a launch simulation. So this is why we initially wanted to wish that this wouldn't happen to us. Though our safety was pretty much assured because of all the chimpanzees we've used to, practice not dying. Through a bunch of setbacks and issues and complications, we still won in 1969 when we landed our Apollo 11 mission on the moon. The proof's in the landing, and we totally showed those Soviets who made it.
Huh. I thought the saying was about pudding.
Never mind.
So, Neil, are there any other cool things you would like to tell us about space?
Well, you've heard of NASA, right? It was started by Dwight Eisenhower in 1958 to initially launch the Explorer 1 and other missions to come. NASA stands for National Aeronautics Space Administration. NASA is what initially won us the space race. Without its missions, the Apollo missions would have never happened, and we would have never landed a man on the moon first.
Really? I love NASA. That's stellar, Neil. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with NBC 217. Back to you, studio.
Well, that was something.
Something awesome. Thank you, Mindy.
Before we move on to our next segment, NBC 217 would like to show support for the following sponsors. Headphones available in both skinny and medium legend. Ever get bored of your boring teacher? Well, we have the product for you. Introducing the Legend Collection by Apple, coming in 2 exclusive sizes. Our product is amazing, but don't just listen to us. Listen to these people who are real customers and not in any way actors paid to say this.
Legend Collection headphones, I can block out any talk about communism.
The best part? No more communism talk.
No more communist nag.
I love these headphones. Everything sounds fantastic.
Now, for the low price of $15.99, you too can race to space. Grab your children, grab your grandma. It's fun for everyone. It's Space Blasters, written in the stars to please. Let the racing begin. Zoom, 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 beep, boop, bop. Yay! I win! See? Everyone is rushing to try it. Call now for a free Neil Armstrong bobblehead. Space Blasters. Warning, space blasters include toxic chemicals. Death is likely. If you do not receive your space blaster, we are in no way, shape, or form held responsible. Space blasters are also choking hazards. If your child chokes on the rockets, we do not care. Thanks!
Thanks, Space Blasters. Gosh, I love those.
On to our next segment, the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Bay of Pigs?
Yes, Deborah, pigs.
Huh.
The Bay of Pigs is a location, Cuba.
Huh.
On January 1st, 1959, Fidel Castro, a Cuban nationalist, as well as his army, went into Havana to overthrow Fulgencio Batista, who was president. With many attempts, the CIA tried their best to strip Castro of his power, but the attempts were useless. Finally, the CIA in 1961 launched a definitive strike.
Cuban refugees tried taking over Havana to stop Castro's government, but surrendered after only 24 hours.
Although he should be dead, we have convinced one of the Cuban refugees that invaded Havana to speak about the invasion.
What's that? Interview time. Let's roll on over to our star reporter, Mindy Marshmallow, who's going to be speaking with a Cuban refugee, Santiago Rodriguez.
Hello, NBC 217. Mindy Marshmallow here with Santiago Rodriguez, one of the Cuban refugees who invaded Havana. My first question for you is, why did you surrender after only 24 hours?
Well, we surrendered due to hardships of being outnumbered by Castro's several troops. They covered and attacked most of our territory's premises.
Oh no! How tragic! You know, my grandma always tells me to always expect the unexpected. That would have been handy.
I suppose.
So, what does this invasion thingy entail? Remember, NBC 217 wants to know everything.
Well, many various bombings happened all over Havana. There were 3 major bombings. All of the bombings include one deception bomber that would be redirected back to the United States. What goes around comes around.
My grandma tells me that too. Tell us more.
Thanks, Mindy.
Before we move on to our Berlin airlift and blockade story, we'd like to show support to the following sponsors.
Introducing the first anti-communist shoe. Stomp out the competition. Crush your enemies in style. Full-time warranty guaranteed. Now you can wow your friends and rock your world with Stompies from Vans. No more worries about those pesky communists getting into your personal business. Leave them in the dust with these super multifunctional kicks. Your friends and family will appreciate it. You can finally get the love you deserve from your condescending, nagging parents. May cause inflammation, a risk of allergies, death, and your personal incarceration.
The new Ford Resistance is a multi-inclusive and technologically advanced ride sure to keep you safe. Ever had the fear of a possible nuclear explosion? No need to in the new and improved car of your dreams. This exclusive model comes in the exclusive colors of black, and the limited edition black. This offer is available on a limited time warranty. If you have product complaints, contact our specialists who will conveniently forget you are on a hold. Risks of this product may include exposure to radiation, death, and nausea.
Wow, amazing! Now moving on to the Berlin airlift. In June 1948, Soviets closed highways, railroads, and canals in western occupied Berlin.
They believed that this method would make it impossible for people to get food and other supplies, all while driving out the U.S., Great Britain, and France.
To supply its sectors, the U.S. wanted to use the air. This was known as the Berlin airlift, and it lasted for more than a year. 2.3 million tons of cargo were shipped into western Berlin.
Then in 1961, Soviets and East Germans built the Berlin Wall. This was mainly caused by Great Britain, France, and the United States' plan to unify the 3 western parts of Germany.
And Berlin. All 3 countries wanted to create a Western German government.
What was the purpose of the Berlin airlift?
Well, the purpose of the Berlin airlift was to supply the people that were in Berlin at the time when the Soviet Union wanted to block out any supplies being shipped there. I believe that it was the United States and Great Britain supplying their sectors within Western Berlin, and they supplied food, clothing, just basic needs.
Wow, that's really interesting. What I'd really like to know is how the Berlin airlift really affected you as a person, living in Western Germany this entire time.
In truth, it was very helpful. I'm just glad that the situation is over.
Thanks for sharing with us today. Now back to you at the studio.
And the next story is from Ukraine and Russia. Chernobyl! Chernobyl was the nuclear disaster of April 26, 1986.
This was a terrible disaster caused by a flawed nuclear reactor design in the power plant. The workers inside the factory were not properly trained, and 2 died instantly. Another 30 died within 3 months of the accident. This disaster has also been linked to an increase in thyroid cancer.
This is said to be the coincidence of Cold War isolation. Large areas of Ukraine and Russia were contaminated due to the event.
Oh look, she's escaping Chernobyl. I'd like to interview on your struggles in Chernobyl.
We have to get away from here. It's dangerous.
Yes, but you must tell us.
The reactor failed
Because
of a flawed design.
Oh.
We have to get out of here. It's dangerous.
Okay, let's run.
Now let's end on a good note, the fall of the Berlin Wall. This was a monumental event for East and Western Berlin.
The wall was originally built by the communist government of the German Democratic Republic. The East wanted to keep the fascist West out.
The Soviets wanted to drive the United States and Great Britain out of the city for good. The east part of Berlin went to the Soviet Union, while the western part went to the United States and Great Britain. Finally, in 1989, the East Berlin's Communist Party allowed the West to cross the Berlin Wall borders. Let's go to our reporter, Carol Callahan.
Hey, and look, this is obviously the place where a ton of people have taken pieces from the Berlin Wall and are starting to sell them. Here, let's talk to our guest interview to figure out kind of more of the lowdown on the situation. Hey, do you know anyone that, was wanting to sell parts of the Berlin Wall after this incident?
Well, actually, I have been selling parts of the Berlin Wall. So if you really wanted to buy a part, I got you.
You got the stuffs?
Berlin Wall, right here.
Thanks.
That fool. It wasn't the Berlin Wall. It was just a rock. Well, that's all we have time for in today's segment.
This is NBC 217. Thanks for watching and have a great day.